Hey guys, it's Libby, and it seems like there are quite a few more of you than there were previously, so welcome to everyone who came over from Kalinati's channel. I'm Libby, and this is the show. I'm gonna be filming some reviews today because I had an intense reading weekend. I got through, I'd already gotten halfway through the Fire Sermon by Francesca Haig, but I finished this off most of it on Saturday and then the last little bit on Sunday. Then I picked it up and read all of Nimona by Noelle Stevenson in one sitting, and then, not slowed down at all, I picked up A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas, which I'm still working on I'm a little bit more than halfway through. So we can expect a review on this one a little bit later. And it's a bit unusual for me to read books back to back to back like this, so I don't know if it's because of that or because of these books' other similarities, but I kind of can't help but think of them in the context of each other. They're all sort of about relationships between people as opposed to internal struggles, and how societies construct a concept of evil. And they're also all speculative fiction. This one has fairies, this one has superheroes and supervillains, and this one is a post-apocalyptic mess that I will tell you more about shortly. So I promise not to spoil either the book I am officially reviewing in the video or the other two that I may make mention to. I definitely won't be spoiling Court of Thorns and Roses because I haven't finished it. So, The Fire Sermon by Francesca Haig. First off, very interesting cover, no words at all, just the omega symbol. You do get the title and author on the spine. And I apologize if I refer to this book as The Fire Gospel, which I think we can all agree is the worst Michel Faber novel. I do mean The Fire Sermon. If I mess up, ignore me, I'm crazy. So this is the first dystopian novel I have ever read. And I had read some reviews of it, and some people seemed kind of bored with all of the dystopian tropes that they've been seeing so much recently, but that was not a problem for me. But if you have read a lot of dystopian novels, I think there are things in this one that will make it different than the other ones and maybe worth picking up. First off, it's not romance focused. There is some romance, but it's definitely secondary. Also, our protagonist is slightly older than you often see in YA fiction. She's 22 for the majority of the novel. And there's a lot of political maneuvering. So this book is set 400 years after a massive nuclear apocalypse that laid waste to most of the world, which I think we are meant to assume was around our modern time. And the big thing that this has caused is all humans are born in sets of twins. One of them is called the alpha and one of them is the omega. The alpha is physically perfect and strong and robust. The omega has some sort of deformity. Some people are missing a limb or have an extra limb. Some people are missing an eye or have an extra eye. Some people just have a limp. Some people are covered in toenail material. And the omegas are also infertile. They can't make their own children. And the way this has been justified is that all of the radiation poison that is sort of inherent in our genes now or something gets expelled out of one of the twins in the womb and moved into the other one. So the alphas are only able to be healthy due to the omegas' mutations. But there is a catch. Whenever one of the twins dies, the other dies too. So obviously we have quite a setup for a class system going on here. The alpha parents try to get rid of their omega children as soon as possible in a process called splitting. And the reason that our protagonist, Cass, is so interesting is that she and her brother Zach remain unsplit for an unusually long time. They get split when they're 13. And that's because Cass has a bit of a different kind of deformity. It's not a physical deformity, it's a mental deformity. She is what they call a seer. And a lot of people are complaining that oh, her deformity is that she's psychic. What a problem. And maybe it's the tiniest cop-out, but there are other seers. It's not like Cass is super special and our savior. And it really doesn't come across as being psychic. It sort of comes across as her brain is cracked open and time moves through it in ways that are not normal. So a lot of the visions that she has are of the blast or the big nuclear explosions that destroy the world, and that's not super fun. So since her deformity is only on the inside, not on the outside, she's able to conceal this for 13 years, which gives her and her brother an unusual relationship. Most people don't spend that long with their twins, but Cass and Zach really only have each other because the other children in their village don't want to play with them because they don't know which of them is the Omega, and you can't hang out with the Omegas because they're all poison and stuff. So they're really each other's only friends, and this gives Cass a unique view of the world. It seems like everyone else is very faction focused. They either want the Alphas to take over or the Omegas to take over. But Cass is like, guys, if you kill one twin, you're also killing the other twin. What's the point of fighting? And she knows that since she and her brother were able to get along, that there is a way that all Alphas and Omegas could get along together. So I thought this was a really interesting setting for our novel. I'm not sure how Francesca Haig is going to deal with the science background of this twin thing. This is the first novel of a trilogy. The other ones aren't out yet, and we don't even have titles or publication dates. So she might expand on it in other books, but she might not, and that's fine. I think I'd rather have no explanation than one that is like clearly not scientifically informed. And since I just mentioned that this is part of a series, let me reassure you that this book does not end on a cliffhanger. There's a conclusion, everything wraps up, and then we have a beat, and then it moves on to sort of, there will be more adventures in the future. So I gave this book 4 to 5 stars. Like I said, I found the setting really compelling. Also, the words are beautiful. Francesca Haig was originally a poet, and normally in books there's at least one sentence where I'm like, those words didn't quite work out the way you wanted to, did they? We could have stood one more rewrite on that sentence right there, but that never happened in this book. Every sentence was lovely. And there was a pretty compelling twist. I did kind of see it coming, but it was such a big game changer that for Francesca to have not foreshadowed it at all, I feel like would have been a cop-out. So I'm glad that it happened. I'm glad that I was able to figure out what the twist was, but I wasn't able to figure out what consequences it would lead to. So she still managed to surprise me and keep it intriguing to the very end. So why 4 stars instead of 5? Well, pages 90 to 190 is the answer. This book in my head is very clearly divided into 3 sections. There's the first 100 pages, the second 100 pages, and then the rest of the book, which is the last 170 pages or so. The first 100 pages is very time fluid. Francesca Haig wanted to start with an action scene, so we start with an abduction, but then we go back in a flashback, and then there are sort of flashbacks in that flashback, and then we hop forward to after the abduction, but you're still having flashbacks through that. It sounds confusing, but it wasn't. It was fine. And we get to learn about the world and about Cass and Zach's relationship and about this mysterious figure, the Confessor, and I really loved it. And then the second 100 pages happened, and it was mainly a journey, and like a lot of things happened, and I wasn't really sure why they were happening. I was kind of bored. I am aware that when you have a character traveling such long distances, things have to happen, otherwise the reader will be like, how are they able to like walk hundreds of miles and no problems arose? So obviously you have to have some smaller conflicts and character development because we meet a new character right before that section starts. But I just think there was too much of it, and we could have cut like a third and then just moved on to the more interesting stuff. I said that I read like the second half just all in one weekend. I read the first 100 pages really fast, and then the second 100 pages I was plodding through more slowly. And then once I got through it, it got really exciting again, and I finished it in 24 hours. So 4 to 5 stars. I am definitely going to be reading the next books in this trilogy. And I'm going to wrap it up there and see you guys soon.